Underneath the bedrock layer in every Minecraft world is a mysterious region called the Void, where the player constantly takes damage and no blocks can be placed. But what if I told you that SUPERFLAT worlds are actually different? Today I'm gonna prove it by building an entire ocean biome with sea monsters and sunken ships, all underneath bedrock. This might be my favorite project I've ever done, so make sure to watch to the end. So way back in November 2021, Minecraft 1.18 was released, which lowered the build height by 64 blocks. But unlike in normal worlds, the bedrock layer in SUPERFLAT was not replaced with deep slate, since Mojang didn't want to mess with everyone's creative worlds. This was kind of a bummer, because I was hoping I would be able to build a bit lower in my harbor area here to allow room for big ships. But this also provided a unique opportunity. See, if I were to break the bedrock, I'd still be able to build underneath. So back in January, I decided to drain my harbor area completely and start removing bedrock, allowing me access to building below Y0. And luckily, I had found a special technique that was perfect for the job. This method requires Tweakaroo to enable fast right-clicking and the ability to place pistons face down. It might be a little non-vanilla, but it was the only way that breaking this much bedrock could be feasible for one man, so I decided to get to work. And from January to May, you could slowly see the bedrock disappear in the background of each of my videos. And after months of grinding, whenever I had some extra time, I finally finished in late May. About 13,000 blocks of bedrock removed entirely by hand. Of course, I could have used a bedrock breaking machine, but the shape of this area is so strange it would have been really hard to pull off. But now, after months of work, I get to do the fun part. It's time to start designing the shape of our lake bed. I'm thinking this part will be really shallow, and over here it will get deeper with a big underwater ravine reaching down in the middle. Since most of the lake bed is gonna be sand, we need to put dirt underneath to hold it up. So the first thing I'm gonna do is start wireframing. Okay, so I've got the shallow part of the bay totally mapped out, and I've started shaping the ravine area as well. I quickly finished up all the wireframing, but at that point I was feeling pretty burnt out. So I took a break to celebrate 10 years in my Flatworld, blow up my entire end island, and go on vacation. But more importantly, during this time, I met a group of builders called the Bakery. See, I really wanted to top my giant underwater base Salacia, and suddenly I was in touch with Instagram's most talented build team. They helped me learn World Edit, which made it so much faster to design something crazy. The block palette is super complex, so I downloaded a mod called Litematica that overlays a schematic into your world so you can tell where each block goes. But in order to pull off my vision, we're gonna need a ton of random resources. Like yesterday, I spent all day in the nether collecting shroom lights. Another resource we're gonna need is a ton of copper. Right now, I use literally the most scuffed drown farm in the entire world, so we gotta fix this. Luckily, our favorite farm guy, Ianxofour, just came out with a new design. I already gathered up all the materials we need, so let's build this thing. Okay, this farm is actually insane. It works so well, it's actually lagging my game. I had to build it on one of these outer end islands because my main island is gone. I'm gonna leave this copper out to oxidize and we can start gathering some other materials. Another material I'm gonna need a lot of is clay. Luckily, you can now make clay by placing mud above dripstone. So the first thing I'm gonna do is make a hole in this wall here and make a quick way to convert dirt into mud using this TNT blast chamber. Big thanks to my friend Redstonecpu for helping me figure out the wiring for this. Now I can mine cobblestone, 4 different types of trees, and convert dirt into mud blocks all at the same farm. With that done, I started converting all the mud into tons of stacks of clay. It's so nice to finally have a way to get lots of clay blocks. I've been collecting resources for so long, and I feel like at this point I just gotta get started. I guess I'm just gonna go down there and start placing blocks. I really went crazy with the palette on this build. I used tons of cyan wool, cyan concrete, and warped wood, which I'm hoping will give the water that like tropical teal color, like a Baja Blast. The sand and sandstone provide really good contrast, and in the ravine area, I transitioned to darker colors with blocks like blackstone, smooth basalt, and acacia. Also, thanks to Litematica, I was able to save a ton of blocks by leaving holes where the coral will eventually be placed. And I went ahead and finished off the shallow part of the bay. This is looking absolutely crazy so far. Some of the block choices feel so strange, but they just kind of work, you know? But we're far from finished. I've got a checklist of things I still want to get done. An underwater cave, a sunken ship, tons of coral, and an entire sea monster. I'm about to start streaming, so I'm gonna build this cave right now. Let's see how it comes out. There we go. This was a super fun build to do on stream. I'm really stoked about how the red octopus came out, and I'm especially proud of how I did the eyes on this one. This is gonna look so cool once it's filled up with water. Next up, we're gonna work on the sunken ship. First, I built a basic ship, and then my friend Rebella showed me how to rotate it with World Edit, and we added in all the final details. I've already collected all the resources I'm gonna need for this, except for rooted dirt. I just had to grow a ton of azalea trees and mine out the dirt underneath. I don't know if there's a farm for this, but we might have to make one in the future. That right there is a sunken ship. This looks so cool. There's like trapdoors, glass panes, candles, sea pickles, all just kind of representing barnacles and coral growing on the side of this thing. I'm so excited because I think that once this thing is actually underwater, it's gonna look insane. Oh, and by the way, composters, pretty good building block. So the next thing to do is all the coral. So I began searching. Images of coral, coral concept art, screen caps from Disney Pixar's critically acclaimed 2003 animated film Finding Nemo, bushy coral, shelfy coral, tubey coral. I wanted to build it all. So first I laid out some block palettes to use. I got to work trading for all of the terracotta I would need, and then I fetched all the wool colors needed from our sheer towers. After some AFKing at the sand duper and some piglin bartering for gravel, I had all the concrete needed as well. With all the resources ready to go, I started placing all the coral, and thanks to Lightmatica, it actually went pretty fast. The coral really brings this area to life, and hopefully the big seaweed I built will go nicely with the kelp and seagrass we'll be placing once the water's all in. It's obvious from my to-do list that the next thing I should do is complete the sea monster so we can fill this bay up with water. So instead, I'm procrastinating and working on finishing up the shores. I didn't include these parts in the Lightmatica schematic because I figured it'd be faster to freehand it. But now that the shores are done, I really can't procrastinate anymore. Really, it's not so bad. I just need to AFK for a bit at the new copper farm.
6.5 hours later.
And now I just need to AFK a bit for the copper to oxidize.
2 hours later.
And now after way too much AFKing, it's finally time to build this thing. Designing this thing was super cool. First, I built a spine in the air with the up command. Then I used the spike tool in Archeon to create that serpent shape. After that, it was just a matter of adding fins and other details. I used purpur just to try to prove to the haters that purpur can actually look good. The build itself wasn't even that many blocks. I actually had plenty of copper to spare. His face is so goofy, but it's also kind of creepy at the same time. I'm really happy with how it came out. I cannot stop flying around here. This is looking so insane. Honestly, it's kind of a shame I have to fill it up with water now and you're not gonna be able to see it as well, but it's gonna be so sick to go diving down there, so it's worth it. And now I'm just gonna do my best to add a couple small fish here and there. Clownfish. Okay, use your imagination a little. Blue fish. Huh? These ones look so bad. And two of the really cool guy from Finding Nemo. I actually really like how these two came out. So I guess all that's left to do now is fill this thing up with water. And once the water's in place, we can spam kelp and sea pickles and seagrass everywhere. It should look really cool. So a couple of water buckets should be all I need. Let's do this. This is not my first time filling up a ton of water. Filling up Salacia taught me a lot about filling large spaces with water. And honestly, I think Salacia took a lot longer. So this felt like a piece of cake. The trick is just to go layer by layer and help the source blocks spread across. I'm gonna start to decorate the bottom before the water gets too high. That way I won't really need water breathing potions. I've just been spamming kelp, bone meal, and sea pickles and it looks so much better. Ah, this is so bittersweet. I mean, it looks so cool with the water, but it also looks so cool without the water. I don't know, I'm conflicted, but I'm just gonna keep carrying on. This looks so weird. I almost have the entire bottom area filled up, but right now it kind of just looks like there's a really bad drought. There's only a few layers left to go on this thing and it's looking insane. It adds like so much depth and dimension to this world. The coral, the kelp, this whole underwater ravine area, it all just looks amazing. Oh my God. I'm gonna finish up the last few levels so we can really check this thing out. I think I just have 2 more layers of water left now, which is crazy. And I think this is the very last layer here. Man, this is gonna look crazy. It's so weird to actually see these ships in water. They've just been floating for so long. What can I say? This project has been months in the making, and sure, that was mostly because of procrastination. But hey, procrastination is still a part of the struggle. You gotta trust the process. I added a bunch more kelp, seagrass, sea pickles, and I also added a bunch of smaller lily pads. I'll put in some tropical fish later. For now, I just added some cod from the fisherman villager. And to finish this off once and for all, I added some actual coral blocks around near the larger coral clusters. I can't believe the bay is finally done. I'm so excited to build big ships and more buildings, and I still can't believe all of this is under bedrock. I never dreamed I'd be able to build down here. But with Minecraft, you just never know. Nothing's impossible. Thanks for watching.